So a big question I get asked is, John, I want a nice level looking truck, but when I hook up to my 20,000 pound trailer, I want the truck to still ride level. Liquid Springs will help us do that, and let me show you how. So this trailer has about 3,000 pounds of tongue weight. So on a typical truck, if you're just working with coil and leaf spring suspension, when we set this trailer down, if the truck is perfectly level, the truck's gonna sag in the rear. So to get a truck that is towing and has a level ride, we typically have to have a rake, which is what you get from the factory, where the rear of the truck is a few inches higher than the front. So watch this, I'm gonna drop this trailer and you're going to see it squat the truck. After a couple seconds, watch what it does. So the trailer squats the truck, it brings it right back up to that original ride height. The truck's still gonna ride exactly as smooth as it did without the weight of the trailer. And then as soon as we take the trailer off, you're gonna see the truck bed rise. Once the weight's off the truck, now you're gonna see it come right back down to its original position. Now I'm gonna demonstrate how we can get out from underneath the trailer using the automatic ride height adjustment. So I'm gonna put this thing all the way up into the high position, drop these jacks down onto the ground, basically get them to where they're just barely touching. Then I'm going to drop all the way down to the low mode and I'll be able to drive right out from underneath the trailer. Now we have plenty of clearance, I can get right out from underneath it without even dragging. If you're tired of cranking those broken jacks or loaded trailers, my favorite feature of Liquid Springs is how easy it is to hook up to a trailer. So if you're tired of cranking these old broken weak jacks, especially when your trailers are loaded heavy, Liquid Springs makes hooking up to a trailer a dream. Right now I'm in the low position, so I dropped the truck down, I backed up underneath the trailer hitch. I'm gonna go inside, put it in the high position. So we're gonna give ourselves an 8-inch rise. 2 simple clicks. The hydraulic pump right there is taking fluid from the reservoir and it's sending it into the cylinders to increase that ride height. So you can see how quick the back end comes up. And then right here, you'll see it has picked our jack leg right up off the ground. So instead of having to crank this thing, you can just leave those jack legs set exactly where you want them, slide it up, put it back in normal drive mode, and you're ready to go. Then when it's time to unhitch, same thing, we'll back up the trailer, put the truck in the high position, we'll drop that jack all the way down to the ground, put the truck in the low position, drops itself right out from underneath the hitch. So whether or not you have jacks that work, you don't have to get that skid loader to pick the thing up off the ground. You don't have to crank that jack, break the handle off, simply pick up and drop. Whether it's a bumper pull or a gooseneck, it works exactly the same. So Liquid Springs has a patented technology called RideSync. And what RideSync does is it is looking at the sensors on all 4 corners, your steering angle inputs, the speed, whether you're braking or accelerating, and it is calculating it 1,000 times per second to give you the best ride that is capable out of one of these trucks. So up here on our screen, we can change between our comfort, which is what I'm currently driving in. That's my preferred drive mode when I'm just on a long traveling trip. The Hereford panhandle is very flat, so I'm making very few corners. I just get on the highway, set the cruise, and it's basically straight drive in 30-mile increments. Now you can shift on the fly very easy to a normal or a sport mode. And if you switch over to the True Earth leveling, you can actually see the percentage of rate control that is adapting to each corner. So you can see those things just constantly moving. If I get a crosswind, you may feel the truck just barely shift to the left, and then instantly it's going to increase the stability of that left side and get the truck nice and centered again. When I change the steering, whether I swerve left or swerve back to the right, it's going to automatically adjust the truck to try to prevent body roll, make it more stable. Same thing when you have a trailer on. When you hit a bump, the front end is going to have less weight than the rear now that the rear is loaded, so it's going to accommodate for that automatically. Now Liquid Springs has been in the game a long time. They've been in the ambulance business providing 2- and 4-wheel control. So ambulances need to change their ride height whenever they open the back doors and they pull the gurney out. They need the thing to sit flat on the ground. Now what impresses me about being in the ambulance industry, those things are driven hard. They get a lot of miles put on them, they have a lot of idle time, and they're going over rough terrain, and they weigh a lot. And I'll tell you, we have a whole fleet of ambulances that we service that all run Liquid Springs, and it is very rare that we have to do any modifications, maintenance, or adjustments on those kits. You can easily get 100,000 miles out of these kits without ever touching them, and there's a great nationwide service network of certified installers that can get you in and out quick if you do have an issue, and Liquid Springs does come with a great warranty. Now in addition to the ambulances, these things have been used in off-road, for fire trucks, for overlanding vehicles, for motorhomes. A lot of people that buy the motorhomes with leaf springs, like the F3 chassis, will put Liquid Springs to prevent their fiberglass from cracking, provide automatic leveling, and just an overall better ride. Well, I'm excited to say we now have this available for you on the work truck. trucks. And just like any other product we sell at Whiteface Customs, everything we sell has been tested on my personal truck. Make sure that I like the way that the products function and that we can provide something that you will definitely be happy with. Now let's head back to the shop, get this thing up on the lift, and we'll check out underneath exactly what goes into this kit and how all the parts function. We will start from the front and go through every piece that we took off from the factory and added back from Liquid Springs. So up front, we're using the factory sway bar. Now we do have a sway bar drop bracket. On this truck, we have the 2-inch lift kit. So essentially this truck's gonna sit like you have a level kit on a normal Super Duty. We are utilizing the factory track bar. We do have a track bar drop bracket. We're utilizing the factory pitman arm, factory drag link, factory steering damper. Now we do have a steering position sensor, an angle sensor right here that is tied to the pitman arm. So as you turn the steering wheel, this sensor will move back and forth, and that will help the system calculate body roll, specifically with how fast you're going. The faster you're going, the more steering angle you put in, the more it will increase the stability on the outside of the quarter to keep the truck from dipping. Over here on the side, you can see there used to be a coil there, so we've removed the coil and the shock. We are still running factory tie rod ends. Now, if you wanted to upgrade to an adjustable track bar or some of the higher performing drag links or tie rod ends, you sure could. It's not going to interfere with this kit. So let's go to the back side of the front axle, and here's where the modifications really start changing. So we replaced the factory radius arms with a drop bracket here from the factory location. We drop it down. We have a ride height sensor connected to every radius arm. This is going to tell the computer if the truck is dipping in the front, its body roll, and also help with the true earth leveling. All 4 corners, so the 2 in the front, we've got 2 back there in the rear. Up here we have a hydraulic line that is feeding the front strut. So it comes right through underneath the fender. It ties into the top of that hydraulic cylinder. This is our nitrogen accumulation tank. So this system uses a silicone-based hydraulic fluid and also nitrogen. That nitrogen allows for that soft feeling for that hydraulic cylinder to act like a shock. A typical hydraulic cylinder with hydraulic fluid does not allow any compression, and so the nitrogen is basically our shock portion of this system. Now we have a pressure line that is much smaller that runs back to a pump that is located inside my toolbox. So the pump has valving. The pump will feed hydraulic pressure to all 4 corners. That helps assist with the ride height and any type of adjustment side to side. Now this chamber has an electronic cylinder that is going to change the dampening. So when you hit bumps, when you're putting on the brakes, when you're changing the drive mode, it's going to change how this fluid can flow through and the effect of the nitrogen dampening on that system. So up here underneath, you can see the backside with our drop brackets for the radius arms connecting up here on the front axle. So the radius arms are designed specifically from Liquid Springs to achieve the caster adjustment that they need. So the factory radius arms are not in the correct position, that when the suspension either goes up or down, it would put your caster degree, which is the angle of the upper and lower ball joint to the road. So as you roll that forward, you are decreasing the caster. As you roll it backwards, you are increasing the caster. Increased caster is good for stability. So these are set up without any adjustment. They simply bolt in place based on the kit that you choose. Bolt in place here. So there's no type of alignment settings you have to do on the front when you set this up, unless you were to replace the tie rod ends. That'd be the only reason you would need to perform some type of alignment. This was a separate dual steering stabilizer kit that I put on the truck. Did not come with the Liquid Springs kit. When we go back here to the rear, for the meantime, I have lost my factory skid plate because it does share some mounting hardware right here. We're gonna work on going through and updating that skid plate, so hopefully I can get that thing back on here. Up underneath, on the rear, there's a lot more going on than what we have up in the front. So you'll notice in the rear, we no longer have leaf springs. This is where your factory leaf spring would mount on the front side. So there's our factory bump stop. We do have a 2-inch spacer here to bring that lower down. When the truck is all the way in the down position, it does slightly make contact with that bump stop, but there's no leaf spring carrying this rear axle. So that means a couple things. One, we have to add a track bar right here that helps keep the axle centered. We also have one right here that keeps the axle from rolling and adds stability. It comes all the way up and mounts to the frame up here. So a lot of the installs, they will remove your spare tire and they put the accumulation tanks there where your spare tire goes. I wanted to keep it, so we custom mounted mine for the fronts on the side of the frame rail up here. On the rears, we put them right up here underneath my bed. So we have one here and one right there inside the bed. Took a little bit of work, but wasn't too big of a job. Both rear radius arms do have a ride height sensor on both the driver and the passenger side. I still have my factory mount from the shock that is no longer used, along with the factory mount up there on top of the frame. And if we go to the outside, you can see where my overload spring connected. So I do have a flatbed, so we had to do a little bit of custom modification to basically sandwich the mounting bracket for the bump stop that also connects the track bar and accommodate it to my flatbed. So I took the flatbed off and ended up widening that angle iron mount by the thickness of the Liquid Springs bracket and bolted it back in place. So most of the bolt holes are already on the frames. There are some that you do have to drill, so it's quite an extensive install. Here on the rear, you can see where the rear strut connects to the frame, so there was quite a bit of drilling required to get that bracket up there. From the rear of the truck, you can see the lower portion of this when you're driving behind me, but for the most part, most of this system is hidden and you can't see a lot of it until you get up underneath the truck. So there's a couple of options. You can have all that equipment mounted right here in one big assembly where the spare tire goes. I opted to keep my spare tire and have everything coming up and inside of my toolbox here. So we have the hydraulic pump and all the hydraulic lines running into this toolbox. So I have the hydraulic pump mounted right here inside my toolbox, surrounded with all my extra stuff. So it took up a little bit of toolbox space, but I wanted this thing protected up here versus being underneath the truck. You can see the valving system here. So the pump will create pressure. It'll feed that pressure into these valves, and then from those valves, it'll go back to those different accumulator tanks. So right here we have our computer control system. So when you touch the monitor, it's sending the signal through this wire harness, and this computer is what's processing everything on the fly. This system will process 1,000 inputs per second. So every little bump you hit, every change in steering angle, when the wind blows, when you hit the brakes, the gas pedal, passing a semi, all those things are taken into account 1,000 times per second to make this system adapt on the fly as quick as possible. Test results have shown that it reduced 50% of the vibration from the road and more than 50% of the feel when you hit a big bump. This system will get you as close to driving like a Lincoln Town Car as anything out there on the market. This might be the highest mileage truck, sitting at 182,000 miles, to have a brand new liquid spring system installed. It doesn't matter if you're buying a brand new truck or it's one you already have. If you want the ultimate ride quality, both for loaded and unloaded applications, whether you want stock ride height, a small lift or a big lift, Liquid Springs will get you set up, and we can do it right here at Whiteface Customs.